Trojan Felly. What's up, man? USCJ here. It's the top of the morning. I hope everybody is getting ready to get up, get out, and make some things happen this morning. Listen, we told you the transfer portal is going to go absolutely bananas. And listen, it officially has some of the best players around the country have literally jumped in the transfer portal as of last night. Listen, you guys know I did a video. I talked about some of the guys that we could expect to get in there, but here were some unexpected guys, and I told you that we could expect some unexpected things to take place. We're talking about high caliber, high productive guys that have officially entered the portal. Now, I wanted to address some of the positions of needs. The positions of needs you guys know are going to be wide receiver, D-line, and what is the D-line makeup of? It could be the defensive ends. It could be because we did lose Solomon Byrd. It could be edge, but I don't think we need help on the edge. But it could be nose tackle, D tackle. Any one of those positions can make up the defensive line. So I want to address a defensive end standing at 6'3", 255 pounds. And he has a total of tackles of 81 tackles. This is him right here. We're going to take a look at his film, but, we'll do a film breakdown together. We'll look at it. But he has a total of 27 tackles for loss, 13 sacks, and 13 forced fumbles in his college career thus far. You're talking about a guy, his name is Deion Hayes, and he plays for the University of Pittsburgh. This kid is absolutely phenomenal. Let's take a look at his film real quick, and you guys can see exactly who he is. He led the ACC last year in pressures with a pressure rate of 23 and was a two-time ACC Player of the Week. So this kid is absolutely, and he has 1 year of eligibility left. So let's take a look at his information real quick. So here's a look at Deion's film, and you guys are going to see it. I'm going to go over those numbers again. But you guys are getting ready to see a very, very explosive player. You guys know we had a little bit of balance on the edge where you're talking about Jamil Muhammad and then Solomon Byrd, but you're losing a lot of production with a guy like Solomon Byrd from this past season. And so you're talking about this kid right here. I don't know what it is about Pittsburgh, but I've noticed lately, the past couple of years, Pittsburgh has had some incredible super strong, super athletic, super physical defensive lineman. And this is one of them here. And you see how nasty he is. You see how physical he is. You're talking about point of attack. He could have his hand in the dirt. He can stand up. But this kid is absolutely he's just a mugger. He'll mug you right into the ground. And you see what he's capable of doing. And here's the question I want to know from you guys. Do you think the coaching staff would even go after a guy like this, being that we have, let's see, when you're talking about the edge guys, you got Cameron Fountain, you got Braylon Shelby, and you got, of course, Jamil Muhammad, you got Anthony Lucas. So the question is, do we go after a guy with this much production? I guess the better question is, can we pass on a guy with this much production like this? Because you got to think, Nate Clifton, I think he'll move over to the inside. I think he could possibly be next to Bear. I think he's big enough. I think the coaches are willing to do that. And I think they talked about it before. I think Lincoln Riley made reference to that. And then you're talking about a guy like Elijah Hughes. I think he could play some inside as well. So the question is, where does this guy, where would he fit in? I think it's a possibility. Of course, you guys we have guys like Solo, but I don't think we have anybody like this that's just with this much experience, only 1 year left. We do have some younger guys who are going to be some superstars. Braylon Shelby, as I stated, a lot. Cam Fountain, those guys are going to be superstars. But do you pass on a guy like this who just entered the portal? That's the question I want to know for the USC football fans. I'm just putting the information out. It really caught my eye when I saw him last night. He kind of reminds me of a Solomon Byrd, the way he looks with his body, but the production, way more production. And that's not knocking Solomon Byrd, because Solomon Byrd had a great year last year, but this guy just really trumps that right now with his production. Solomon Bird wore number 51. I guess that kind of reminds me too. He's wearing number 50. So you guys can drop those comments. You guys can let me know. I'm gonna move on to the next. But this guy's an absolute monster, and his name once again is Deion Hayes. Now the next guy is going to be a wide receiver, and you guys get ready to take a look at his film. He's a beast, and he reminds me of the former Ole Miss receiver that currently plays. I believe he still plays for the Seahawks. His name, I can't even think of it right now. But this guy, his name, I mean, I mean, when you look at this size, it's really, it's kind of unbelievable. But he's standing at 6'3", 228 pounds. Jacoby Jones. So we'll take a look at Jacoby Jones' information real quick and take a look at his numbers. In 2023, he was hurt, so he did not complete the rest of the season. He only had 8 receptions for 47 yards, but here's the big one right here. In 2022, he had 45 receptions for 776 yards. So let's take a look at his film real quick. So here's what you're going to notice with Jacoby. You're going to see him be able to just have that ability just to take off, and you see the speed there. I mean, you're talking about 6'3", 228, and you're running like that, you're catching like that. I'm very, very impressed with what I've seen from Jacoby. We'll take a look at some more film of him, but I think he's a guy that could be a Brandon Rice type of receiver. You got different style of receivers. Every receiver is not going to be the same. Every receiver is not going to be a slot, but this guy is that one that you can absolutely use as a Brandon Rice type of receiver. We already know we got guys like Jacoby Lane and Deuce Robinson who can go up and get those 50-50 balls, which is cool. But then you got your slot guys like a Zach Branch, slot guy like a Mekhi Lemon, and of course Xavier Jordan, who I could think can come right behind those guys and be the same type of slot guy. But then when you're talking about another kind of receiver, kind of a flexible receiver who could he could play slot, he could play in, he could play out, he could do pretty much everything because he's so big, so fast, and so physical. I think this is what Jacoby provides to the USC football team in the event that USC would be able to get him. You guys can drop those comments. You guys can tell me what you think. Some of his numbers, I've mentioned them to you, which he played in 14 games in 2022, which was the 45 receptions for 776 yards. But prior to that, he was in junior college, and he still had the same type of numbers, much big-time production, which was 63 receptions, 929 yards, and that was at Northwest Mississippi Community College. So we're talking about a high-caliber guy, a guy that's absolutely physical, and you guys drop those comments. My mind is not clicking right now. What's that former Ole Miss receiver that went to the Seattle Seahawks who looks like just a he-man, an absolute monster at receiver? This guy kind of reminds me of him, but he's not as big. I think that guy may be like 235 or something like that. But this kid right here, Jacoby Jones, is 6'3", 228, and I think USC can absolutely use a different type of change of pace wide receiver like him as well. Now, I do kind of have a wild card honorable mention, if you will, and this is a big-time linebacker. He actually led Tennessee last year in tackles last year. We'll talk about him. I mean, why is he entering the portal? I'm not very sure, but his name is Elijah Hurling. And you're talking about a guy that was extremely, extremely productive last year, his freshman year as well. He, like I stated, he was a sophomore this year, but freshman year, he played in all 13 games as a reserve linebacker and on special teams. He finished his freshman year with 11 tackles, 4 solo tackles, and 2.5 tackles for loss. We'll move up real quick and look at his sophomore year, which was this year. And as I stated, he led the team with 79 tackles, which was crazy. He played in all 12 games this past season and started the last 11 games at middle linebacker. Led the team with 76 total tackles, capped the regular season with 5 sacks in a win over Vanderbilt, made 6 tackles versus number 1 Georgia. He finished with 6 tackles at the number 14 Missouri, posted 8 tackles for the 3rd consecutive week, and also had a half a tackle for loss in the victory over UConn. For the 2nd week in a row, tied a career high with 8 tackles to help lead Tennessee to a road victory over Kentucky. He tied a career high with 8 tackles number uh, at Alabama, and then tied for the team, led the team with 5 tackles in a win over Texas A&M. He led the team as well with six tackles in a win over South Carolina. So you're talking about a kid that numbers is just off the charts. Stats is crazy. 6'3", 233 pounds. Only a sophomore. That means you have 2 more years left after this year. Well, really 1 year, because if you're playing like that, he's going to the NFL. So the question is, does USC pursue somebody like him with this much production? Do you want to, it seems like the chemistry right now between the linebackers, of course, Mason Cobb, Rajon Davis, and of course, moving Anthony Beavers, getting a little bit of time there. Of course, Doug Belk talked about Beavers playing a little bit of safety as well. So I think he'll be all over. But do you bring a guy like this in? Is the question in the transfer portal. He's a beast. Why is he going in the portal? That's a great question. That's one that you probably want to know. But look, man, you guys drop those